rewarded by getting it fixed. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I want to yield 4 minutes to my friend from New York, Ms. Tenney, who has worked through the Financial Services Committee, again in a bipartisan way, to deal with local community financial institutions and local home buyers who are getting shut out of the process by an overly burdensome Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. With that, 4 minutes to the gentlelady from New York, Ms. Tenney.
The gentlelady from New York is recognized.
I thank my friend from Georgia, Mr. Woodall, for yielding and for his great comments about bipartisanship. Mr. Speaker, over the last 10 years, the community financial institution industry has undergone a dramatic transformation. Since 2006, more than 1,500 banks have failed, have been acquired, or have merged due to economic factors and the overwhelmingly expensive regulation brought forth by the passage of Dodd-Frank. During that same period, there's been a drought in de novo banks. In fact, only 5 new bank charters and 16 new credit unions have chartered since that time. Today, for the first time in 125 years, there are fewer than 6,000 banks and roughly 6,000 credit unions serving all consumers in the United States. This is proof that community financial institutions need smart, common sense regulatory relief so they can properly serve local communities by assisting them with small business startup and consumer credit, particularly in a region like mine in upstate New York. It's important that we pass this rule today to consider my bill, H.R. 3971, the Community Institution Mortgage Relief Act. This bipartisan measure would offer real relief for institutions that are barely surviving in an excessively regulatory environment. And I thank my colleague bipartisan way to bring this bill forward and to make it even better than we originally conceived it. H.R. 3971 would exempt small community institutions from mandatory escrow requirements and would provide relief from new regulations that have nearly doubled the cost of servicing, with direct impact on the consumer for the cost of mortgage credit. I know that certain institutions wish to continue to provide escrow services to their consumers, and under current law and under this provision, they are welcome to do that. However, for the smaller institutions, like the ones in my district, like GPO Federal Credit Union, for example, that rely on relationship banking, customers that walk in the door and know who your neighbors are and know who your friends are and whose children serve on the same teams and sports teams and go to the same schools. This bill will greatly help them and help our consumers continue with that relationship. By mandating that all institutions follow escrow requirements, it raises the cost of credit for those borrowers who can least afford it and harms our small local institutions who can barely afford to stay alive. This is a great common sense bill. It's bipartisan, as every bill I've ever proposed in this chamber has been since my first year as a freshman, and will continue to do so. And I urge my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to support this bill. And I again thank my colleague from Georgia, and I urge everyone to support this really common sense bill that will help our small community banks and our credit unions. I yield back. Thanks so much.
Gentlelady yields back.